Thank you. I love being here. Thank you for the invitation to speak. So the theme for Unity this month is a father's love. So I wanted to make sure I addressed information relative to the role of being a father and honoring fathers and Father's Day. And while I will talk about fathers explicitly today, I also want to paint a broader picture of parenthood and the human experience, and that all of it serves our soul's growth. Before we were born, in the pre-existence, we planned our human life in great detail. Again, all of it related to experience that contribute to our soul's growth. We chose our parents, our brothers and sisters, our soulmates, with great help from our soul group of like-minded souls. So, why would one choose to be a father? Why did you choose to be a father? Fatherhood comes with great responsibility. It demands selflessness, presence, deep emotional resilience, commitment, failure, forgiveness, sacrifice. It asks him to love unconditionally, even when he doesn't feel at all up to this challenge. He is asked to be the provider, protector, and always have our back. Actually, parenthood, I say, is on-the-job training. And there's nothing like the first child to be the grand experiment. I mean that probably with a sense of humor, but with real truth. I honestly think it may be the most responsible thing you'll even think about doing, becoming a parent. So, I just have this one aside. If you've had more than one child, it's just kind of evidence supporting this. At some point, the first child comes to you and says, how come I wasn't able to do that when I was that age? You wish you could tell me because I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I'm still learning. Anyhow, parenthood is a huge challenge. And again, sense of humor, but real truth. One child, take out 20 years of your life. That's it. That is a huge sacrifice that you will make and have made. But what an opportunity to learn to love, the experience of doing for others what we believe is best at the time, and learning to trust ourselves and forgive ourselves. All of our relationships as parents, children, spouses, co-workers, and even your pets are meant to bring up your stuff. They are all mirrors for you. And so indeed they bring up stuff as such to be healed, integrated, accepted, and loved. This is personal for me, but the importance of respecting individual differences, and that individual differences, as I see them, are absolutely necessary and essential for our growth. Life does not happen to us, it happens for us. And so if you don't mind if I just speak briefly about reincarnation, and hopefully a way to make it, at least in my way of thinking, make it understandable. But imagine, again, remember, it's all related to soul's growth. But let's put it in the framework of acting or being actors or actresses. And so here you are in the pre-existence, sitting down with your soul group and deciding what it is that you want to do or learn or experience or give next. And so here you are as this actor as such, and then imagine the director of this given play, or in this case, scenario, is coming into human life, comes to you and says, you know, there's this role that I think would serve you so extremely well. And you have demonstrated, and then whatever other acting roles you've taken or had or human life experiences, and I think you could bring a great deal to this role, which will be very helpful. But in the most loving way, I think this role will stretch you as an actor. And so both for the fact, as I see it, that you could bring a great deal and value to playing this role, but I think it would honestly help you and your soul's growth. Would you like to take this part at this time? And I really think it is something like that. But the important part is that you chose it. You know, so often in life, we look at external things and think, oh, you know, something or someone else is responsible. And whether we want to blame God or Satan or God knows what, without the real understanding, you know, looking over here, your last line over there, and all is well, is really hard to remember, especially when things are just right now in particular seem so very chaotic, that it's all in divine order. But I think that's a great thing to think about when things seem to be going so bad or anything but smoothly, that there's still some benefit and purpose for all of it. I'm sure some of you may find it difficult to believe that you chose your parents, siblings, or spouses. I know. You can be so different and things can be so difficult. You know, I like to joke, but it's kind of just in my sense of humor, but I really mean it actually. Just in terms of spouses, you marry your opposite. And one of the things that always stands out for me is something you can think about if you like, but one of you in that relationship will be more self-centered and one of you will be definitely more nurturing. It's just the way it is. And just as a more of an aside and pretty mundane, but again, I can tell you without knowing you that one of you in that relationship will be one who likes to hoard and hold on to things. And one of you cannot wait to get rid of stuff. How does this happen? Again, I want to come back to your soul's growth. So that you marry your opposite, it sounds so unromantic that it's because you are choosing to balance each other. And so fill in a void for the other, and again, help them in the most loving way. That's a soulmate. Your soul's energy has drawn you to exactly who and what it needs to grow. And so when you think about marrying your opposite, or that you really chose your parents, what were you thinking? But I want you with a sense of humor to really help you think about why in the world, you know, do we end up in certain situations? And I believe it's a natural attraction, energy attraction. So just to give you an idea, if you don't mind a personal example, or myself and my wife, Shelley, many years ago, I had a good friend who was a physician and his wife was struggling and he asked if I would help her. And I said, of course. Well, she wanted to pay me, which I wouldn't allow her to do, but she was an astrologer. And I'm admitting right now, I do not know anything about astrology. And she just really wanted to do that. She said, I really want to draw your chart, and for my wife, Shelley, as well. So we said, okay. And then I fortunately was able to help her and she did our charts. And then when she brought them back and showed us how, within, say a circle and where the different planets or different whatever are, and our charts were so uniquely different. It was remarkable. And mine was very filled in on one side and pretty much empty on the other. And again, Shelley's was just the opposite. And she said to us, "You're perfect for each other." And it was so illogical, but it was absolutely true. And so she said, based on her understanding of astrology, that Shelley needed to be more able to speak up and stand up for herself, be more her own person, assert herself. And I was very developed that way. But on the other hand, I was terrible at relationships. And I needed to learn, and Shelley's so good at it, how to really be able to relate well with others and to love unconditionally and so forth. So Shelley and I, we can laugh about it, that we can be so different sometimes. But as we've gotten older, I think we can see the role that plays, and it's helpful for us to understand then in a bigger perspective, maybe why certain things are happening instead of just rebel or be mad and upset, is that it's serving a definite purpose. And I also know, through a lot of meditations over many years, that my father came to teach me discipline, and he was clear about it. In fact, I joke, if it was my father's true life mission to teach me discipline, I guarantee you he's in heaven.
Right next to my dad.
Yeah. And so that's a normal relationship often as well, right? That we have someone who, well, at the extreme is an Archie Bunker type, they absolutely know what's right. And you should know because they understand it so well. This is the way to do it. I used to, back when I'm old enough that I was a war baby, born in 44. And there was nothing quite like the rivalry between the Army and the Navy. And if you go back from the Army and Navy football game, what a big deal. But anyhow, part of my story is that there was a saying, at least in the Army as I remember it, there's only one way to do everything, the right way or the wrong way, the Army way. And then I joked, that was my father to a T. He absolutely knew the right way to do everything. And damn it, you were going to learn how to do it that way. Now you can see the part of the problem potentially in this with the idea that this is the only way to be. And as necessary to get your attention, you get smacked for it. So anyhow, I say you're not stupid, you catch on, you're going to learn how to be. But in that learning process, then we can learn a lot of serious limitations and learn anything but that we are God, that we are all goodness and sugar and spice and everything nice. What have you learned? I really like you to think about this for the moment. What did you learn from your father? And not to disparage fathers for a moment, but can you appreciate that it may have actually led to very commonly thinking you're flawed? I come home with all A's and a B in my report card. My father would go, "Why did you get a B?" I mean it. I was a good student. And I'm feeling emotional. I was about to tell you this one. I was actually president of my class in high school, and my twin brother was vice president. So when we were at graduation, apparently I was told to show a man behind my parents, saw our names in the bulletin and, questioning, are they brothers, Dean Shrock, Dennis Shrock. And I want to cry.
Go ahead.
And my father turned around and said, "They're my sons."
Aw.
It was so unusual for him to acknowledge us in some positive way. Again, the point I want to make about this is that it all serves purpose. That isn't my father didn't love me. My mother would tell me later, how my father, if I love these terms. Do you ever have the croup or whooping cough? These great names. If I had the croup or whooping, it would be my dad who would sit up with me all night, But I never saw my father other than as this disciplinarian. So I really like you to think about the idea of what your father truly may have come to teach you, and that whatever the unpleasant or anything but harmonious experience you might have had with your father, I'm focusing on the father today. Um, I want to go back to always, it's always in perfect order. It's always in divine order. I'm misquoting this on purpose a little bit. The idea that the mills of God grind exceedingly fine, nothing is missed. It all serves purpose. So sometimes it may help to pause and think about when things aren't going well at all, including look what's going on in the world today. Is it is serving a purpose? And I'm convinced of that personally. So I want to propose to you, and we can do this right now if you like, is that you can actually be in touch, presuming right now your father is deceased, but whether or not he's deceased, you can talk to someone, in this case your father, mentally, and have a conversation where we think, well, if he is dead as such, that, well, how do you get closure out of a lot of stuff? He isn't here anymore. I guarantee you your father's not dead, and that you can positively speak with him, alive or dead. And whether we think of it in terms of prayer or whatever term we might use, you could, honest to goodness, still talk with that person. God forgive me, your son, whomever. And that's something we could actually do now if you would like to just do it as a little exercise. I'm sure you've heard where psychologists might recommend you actually write a letter to your father, as a way maybe to bring closure. So if any of you journal, but I mean it, you could, honest to God, and would you like to do that now? Just take a minute and send, let's just call it a love message to your father. Would you like to do that?
Sure.
Okay, so let me propose a way to do it, at least maybe in terms of a framework. And so the way I was taught and believe is that you always start the conversation with, I love you. Understand, I love you means I genuinely want what's best for you. Whether or not we like each other, whether or not we've had other disagreements, whatever. But could you say that to that person? Could you say that to your father or to anyone? What's best for you? And then is when you speak from your heart still, this is what I would really like to say to you. And you can even be mad. Damn it, why did you do that or whatever? But it's a way to just relate and be able to say something that you feel like you never did or never could. But you end that conversation with, no matter what you do, I love you. So it's really meant to be open-hearted communication, in this case with your father. So if you do that, and please close your eyes. And then, like making a phone call, only this is all mental. If you were to call, say, hi, Dad, this is, and I want to tell you how much I love you. And how much I'm learning probably to appreciate what you came to do and the outrageous sacrifice you made to be in my life. And now please mentally, silently share with your father whatever you would really like to say, but ending it with, I love you no matter what you do. Take your time. I would just like to add this. At some point, I'd like you to think about one thing your father gave you that shaped who you are, that you are truly grateful for. And if you will add that to your conversation now, communication with your father. And then to bring closure to this, I'd like you to ask your father if he has a message for you now. Take your time again. And now I'd like to lead into a meditation. Please take your time now to contemplate that who you are now is enough. It's actually perfect. It is enlightening to know that we all have a soul script and life plan. We are where we're supposed to be and doing what we are supposed to be doing. We knew we were to come to the earth plane to experience joy as something we all chose to experience on a vibrational level in order to gain the knowledge needed to be able to hold the vibration of love. Experiencing different forms of love through music and song, seeing and listening to waterfalls, a newborn baby, the love of family, animals, and sunshine enables us to reconnect with the vibration of our source. These forms and sources of love can only be experienced on our earthly physical plane. A veil was purposely drawn between the true you and this plane to create a loss of memory for the vibrations that you are connect with here for your spiritual growth. You cannot grow without experience. You cannot know love without experiencing joy. Joy is a natural, normal vibration we are in tune with and connect with on the other side of the veil. But the crazy making part is we also chose to experience what love is not in order to more fully appreciate what love is. All of life's experiences are beneficial. Our souls and those in spiritual realms throughout the universe, on other planes and Mother Earth, are so grateful for our having chosen to be here at this time. We have committed on the other side of the veil in our pre-existence to raise the consciousness of this planet and the eternal evolvement of our solar system and the universe. Mother Earth sorely needs us. And then, as you choose, you can take your time now to contemplate that all of our life experiences truly add to our soul's growth. Thank you.
Thank you.